Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Further to my video on crystal meth, which I've just uploaded, I wanted to discuss two high-profile cases in terms of violence and criminal cases where crystal meth played a significant role, just to highlight the dangers of it. So I think a year or two ago, there was a famous or infamous case in Islamabad in Pakistan, where basically a young man, guy in his 30s, he had a history of substance abuse, in particular ice, which is kind of a name for crystal meth that people use. So he had a long history of abuse of substances, and in the preceding, probably I think a couple of months, he had increased his use of crystal methamphetamine in the form of ice. And he had a lot of difficulties in terms of violence and aggression towards his own family. He would abuse his mother, attack her, and he was receiving some counseling and treatment in Islamabad. He had a relationship with a girl previously, and which had broken down. Basically, he had a girlfriend, and he told her that he wanted to say bye to her because he was going to the US. So he invited her to her house and basically kidnapped her for probably, I think, 24, 48 hours, physically assaulted her, abused her. There's CCTV footage of her actually jumping from the first floor and trying to run out the house. And he chased her and dragged her by her hair back into his house and tortured her to the point where obviously her parents got concerned because she was not responding to her mobile, and eventually they tracked her down to his house. And what he had done was he ended up basically killing her and beheading her. And then he tried to escape and was apprehended. And subhanAllah, if you actually review the case, it really demonstrates how substance abuse changes an individual's personality and can result in severe violence, aggression, in this case murder, and not just murder but brutal murder where he beheaded her. And he was obviously, they found through toxicology that he was intoxicated at the time, and had been binging on ice or crystal meth for days, to the point where he lost control, and he committed this horrendous crime. And I believe that recently the case was completed and he received the death penalty, so he's waiting an execution. More recently, in the last few months, there's a very high profile case in the US which people may have heard of, and that is a case involving a female called Taylor Shabusiness. So what she did, and this people have equated this to kind of the Jeffrey Dahmer case, where she basically, so they both had, her and her boyfriend had a history of substance abuse, including opioids and methamphetamine. So what she did was she strangled her boyfriend, and the circumstances are still being investigated. The trial is ongoing right now, so you can see it for yourself, that it involved some kind of sexual activity or some kind of sex game or whatever. So she started choking him with a dog chain, and subhanAllah, if you listen to the interrogation, she mentioned that she kind of liked it and lost control, and she started strangling him to the point where he started vomiting blood and urinated himself. And both had been using a lot of substances, especially crystal meth, and she ended up killing him. But that was not the end of it. So what she did was she started dismembering him. Subhanallah, she removed his head, she beheaded him. She also removed his genitalia, and then she did some abhorrent sexual acts with his private parts after they'd been dismembered. And she kind of got some sexual excitement out of this, and eventually obviously she was arrested, and now she's undergoing a murder trial. So again, this case involved high levels of substances being abused, and her father gave testimony as well that both her and her boyfriend were using large quantities of substances, especially crystal meth. And that's definitely a contributing factor. It's not the only reason for this murder, but it's a contributing factor. And subhanAllah, if you reflect on it, this is the beauty of Islam. In Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He advises us, and well, it's haram for an individual to, use intoxicants, alcohol, other illicit substances, because of the harms, not only on the individual, but also on families and the society as well. And specifically crystal meth, which I mentioned, there's an increasing use of it amongst young people, causes a lot of harm and can result in psychosis, can result in people becoming extremely paranoid, where they can then act out and commit serious violent crime and murder. So this is, subhanAllah, a point for us to reflect and to educate the youth about the harms of substance abuse, and inshallah, for those people who are affected in terms of family members or friends, for them to advocate for them to seek treatment as soon as possible, because you don't want them to get to the stage where they could potentially, commit a very serious violent crime. Inshallah, that was beneficial. Until next time, this is your brother Dr. Abu Isa. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.